I stayed late at the office, thinking I was alone. Then the computers started typing by themselves, doors slammed shut, and something whispered my name. I shouldn't have survived that night. I never thought staying late at work would turn into a nightmare. My new job at a corporate office in downtown Chicago felt like a dream. Huge glass walls, sleek elevators, and a bustling team that kept things lively during the day. But at night, when everyone left, the building felt wrong. Too quiet, too still, as if it was holding its breath. On my third week, my manager asked if I could stay late on Friday to finish a presentation. It didn't seem like a big deal, so I agreed. By 7:30 p.m., I was the only one left on the 14th floor. I sent my final email and decided to grab a coffee before wrapping up. That's when I heard it. A printer whirring somewhere down the hallway. It startled me because I was sure all the equipment had been switched off earlier. I walked toward the copy room, thinking maybe someone else was still around. But when I got there, the printer was silent. It wasn't even on. I turned around to leave, and that's when I saw it. A single sheet of paper on the floor near my cubicle. It wasn't there before. When I picked it up, my blood ran cold. In bold, uneven letters, it read, D to D. My first thought was that someone was playing a sick prank. Maybe the security team? Maybe one of my coworkers sneaked back in? I looked around, calling out, "Hello? Who's there?" Silence. That's when I noticed something worse. The glass door to the main exit was locked. I swore I hadn't locked it. I tried my keycard, nothing. It was like the building didn't want me to leave. The office lights flickered, and I heard a faint scratching noise coming from the far end of the hallway. I froze where I stood, gripping the paper with "Die Today" scrawled across it. The scratching sound grew louder, like fingernails dragging against glass. It was coming from the conference room, the one with the long glass walls that overlooked the entire floor. My heart pounded as I crept toward it, trying to convince myself this was some kind of prank. Maybe the cleaning crew? Maybe I was just tired and imagining things. But when I pushed the conference room door open, it was empty. The scratching stopped. Then the lights cut out. The entire floor plunged into darkness, except for the faint emergency exit signs glowing red. My breath caught in my throat as I heard something mechanical start whirring behind me. A printer? Again, but this time much closer. I turned toward my cubicle area. My computer screen, which I had shut down earlier, was now glowing. Lines of text were appearing on the blank document screen, as if invisible hands were typing. The words burned into my mind. "Wanna live." And below the text was an image slowly printing out on the office printer. A rough, ink-smeared arrow pointing toward the far end of the hallway. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but I needed to get out of the building, and maybe this was guidance? I picked up the paper and followed the direction of the arrow. My footsteps echoed through the silent office, and each shadow felt like it was moving just out of sight. Halfway down the hallway, I passed another cubicle. That's when I saw the monitor flash on. My knees almost buckled when I read what it said. "Don't look back." And then I heard footsteps. Heavy, dragging footsteps behind me. Couldn't breathe. The footsteps behind me were slow, deliberate, and heavy, as if whoever or whatever was back there wanted me to know it was coming. "Don't look back," the screen had said. Every fiber of my being screamed to turn around, but my survival instinct forced me forward. I clutched the crumpled paper with the arrow printed on it and hurried down the hallway. The fluorescent lights above me flickered violently, buzzing like they were on the verge of exploding. Then, from somewhere deep in the shadows, I heard a voice. A low whisper. "Stay." I froze, my pulse hammering in my ears. The voice sounded wrong, like it was inside my head but also coming from behind me. "No, no, no," I muttered under my breath. My shaking hands fumbled for my phone. I tried calling someone, anyone, but there was no signal. The network bars were gone, as if I had been cut off from the rest of the world. I forced myself to keep walking until I reached the door at the end of the hallway. It was the emergency exit. I grabbed the handle and yanked, locked. "Come on," I hissed, kicking it in frustration. The footsteps were closer now. I could feel something approaching. I spun around, my breath stuck in my throat. There was nothing there. Nothing but the flickering lights. And then, one by one, the computers in the hallway turned on. Every single screen glowed white. Lines of text started appearing simultaneously on all of them, as though the office itself was alive. "It's too late." I dropped the paper and bolted into the conference room again, slamming the door shut behind me. My heart was racing so fast I thought it would burst out of my chest. Inside the conference room, I could see my reflection on the glass walls. Except it wasn't moving like me. The reflection was smiling. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. The reflection in the glass wall tilted its head, grinning like a predator. "This isn't real. This isn't real," I muttered, clutching the conference table for balance. Then the lights cut out. Total darkness. The hum of the air conditioner stopped, and the silence was suffocating. I turned on my phone flashlight, the narrow beam cutting through the blackness. My reflection was gone now, but on the conference table, words were scratched into the wood that hadn't been there before. D to D. My phone slipped from my trembling hands and clattered onto the floor. I grabbed it immediately, panic making me clumsy. As I picked it up, I heard the faint sound of typing. But I was the only one in the office. The sound came from the main work area. I crept toward it, flashlight shaking in my hand. Computer was on. I had shut every single one of them down earlier. On the screen, a text document was open, words appearing one by one, like invisible fingers were typing them. Want to live. Below the question was an arrow symbol, pointing to the far side of the office, toward the elevator. I didn't know why, but every part of me screamed to follow it. My legs felt like lead, but I forced myself to move, my sneakers squeaking faintly on the polished floor. As I walked past the cubicles, the office printer suddenly roared to life. Paper shot out, landing face up. I hesitated, then bent down to read it. Run. I dropped the paper like it burned my hands. My breath came fast and shallow. The elevator was just ahead. Then I heard something. Not footsteps this time. Breathing. Slow, ragged breathing. It was coming from the break room just a few feet away. The door creaked open on its own. A pale hand curled around the frame. The hand gripped the door frame, thin and bony, with fingernails that looked almost claw-like. I froze, my phone trembling in my grip. Who's there? My voice cracked, barely a whisper. No answer. The hand slowly pulled back into the darkness of the break room. For a moment, I thought I could hear faint laughter, high-pitched, distant, and echoing. Every instinct screamed for me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I backed toward the elevator, keeping my flashlight pointed at the break room door. That's when the office lights flickered back on. I blinked against the sudden brightness and saw the conference table again. The words "Die today" were no longer scratched into the wood. They were carved deep with jagged edges, as if done with a blade. The elevator dinged. I turned sharply, relief flooding me, until I saw the doors. They didn't open. Instead, on the smooth metal surface, a single word was burned into the steel like it had been branded there. Stay. The lights cut out again. A heavy thud echoed from somewhere deep inside the building, followed by the sound of multiple printers going off at once. Sheets of paper flew through the air like a storm, swirling around me. One hit my face. You can't escape. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted toward the emergency exit door. It wouldn't open. I slammed my shoulder into it, kicking and pulling, but it was like the door was welded shut. Then I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. I turned. A man stood in the hallway. His clothes were charred and torn. His face blackened like he had been burned alive. His mouth stretched into a crooked grin. And when he spoke, his voice sounded like it was coming from inside my head. I never left this place. I stumbled backward, my body shaking violently. My phone fell from my hands and the flashlight went out. The last thing I remember was that burned figure lunging at me. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the couch in the office rest area. My coworkers were standing around me, their faces pale and confused. You okay? You passed out, one of them said. I tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come out right. They laughed it off, blaming stress and lack of sleep. Only the old security guard believed me. When everyone else left, he came over, his weathered face grim. I saw it too, he said quietly. A long time ago. Nobody believed me either. That spirit, it's still here. It belongs to this building. He told me about a former employee who died tragically in a fire accident years ago, right in this office. No one ever performed the proper rites, and some say his anger turned into something darker. Before leaving that night, the guard looked me in the eye. Be careful. It doesn't always stop with one visit. I haven't stayed late since. But sometimes, when the office is quiet, I swear I can still hear the printers running.